Welcome back to the Mended Drum. My name is Warren, and this is the Jank Bank. This week on the Jank Bank, we're going to be building around a mythic from Strixhaven, but not a good one. One of those ones where when you open the pack, you groan outwardly. That mythic's name is Blex, Vexing Pest. And the reason this is a mythic that people groan for rather than get exalted by is because it doesn't fit into the traditional, already broken green-black deck from Strixhaven. See, that green-black deck, the one that everybody's using, essentially builds a bunch of pests only to then sacrifice them, and for each one that gets sacrificed with Plumb the Depths, your opponent takes a single damage, and eventually they get chipped away to zero. It's brilliant. It's very clever. But it also ignores a lot of the really good black-green cards that are in Strixhaven that haven't been used. This deck aims to rectify that, and Blex Vexing Pest is only the beginning.
The deck centers on Blex Vexing Pest, which will give each of your pests +1/+1. Don't worry about the flip side, search for Blex, it's rubbish. You'll kickstart your collection of pests with Hunt for Specimens, which also allows you access into your sideboard. Valentine Dina the Vane is good for making pests, and Lizette Dina the Root is good for boosting them later. Tend the Pests lets you sacrifice your pests underneath your opponent's destruction, and Deadly Brew lets you get value for their deaths, as does Plumb the Forbidden, that'll give you great card advantage. Sedgemoor Witch is going to turn each of those instants and sorceries into pest advantage, which is marvelous when you need pest sacrifice to the Grim Wanderer and the Daemogoth Woe Eater. The Woe Eater, by the way, is wonderful to sacrifice to attend the pests. That's 7 incredible pests. The Tarask is there not because it fits the theme, but simply because, wouldn't it be awesome to cast that thing? Look at it, 10/10, it's beautiful. The lands are just a selection of black and green. It doesn't really matter. You just want to make sure that you've got a nice mix so that you can cast all of the gold cards that are in the deck. Quick look at the sideboard, and you'll see that there's Containment Breach there to get rid of all of those difficult enchantments. But the one you're really going to be grabbing is Pest Summoning. Why? Because it gives you 2 lovely pests.
So as you can see, the deck includes a lot of black-green cards that aren't currently being used very commonly. But I reckon they've got to have potential, otherwise why would they even have been designed, right? Right?
Alright, our first hand is all black, but it's okay because there's some cheap stuff there, there's some interesting stuff somewhere to develop. Let's see what we're playing. Obosh the Prey Piercer. Must be honest, I don't know very much about this deck, don't get to play it very often. But I'm sure it's going to suffer under our pests. Alright, he's used a shock on a pest. That's okay, we'll take that every day. Gives us a little bit of card advantage. Speaking of card advantage, we get our Sedgemoor Witch down as quickly as we possibly can so that we can start generating pests with everything we cast. She's got Menace, so she sneaks past that rogue. You see, the thing about these pests is that they're quite expendable. We don't really have to worry about them as much. We'll keep the Woe Eater going because an attacking 7/6 against a 5/5 defender isn't great. Okay, he's already down to 4. Yeah, he's only got 4 blockers. We've got 10 attackers. Correct that, 9 attackers. And that's the game, easy enough. Right, the next one. We do have some options in terms of color this time, and again, relatively cheap stuff to cast at the beginning. We're against what seems to be a multicolored deck. Well, we're just going to play our game. Can't do anything else, I suppose. It's not like we can suddenly play mono red. Minsk beloved ranger. My terrible accent there. He's thinking. And there's our first Blex. Still more thinking. So that'll gain him life, cost us some damage, and give the hamster death touch. But you know, honestly. Now we can put that Woe Eater down because it doesn't matter if we sacrifice it later. It gives us card. Just as I'm speaking, there comes the giant killer to deal with that little incident. His thinking is taking a lot of time. Delver's torch, alright. More thinking. Containment Reach deals with that, and we get a new little pest as well. Right, now we can actually put the Lizette down and start growing these guys. For every one of them that dies, gets us some life, and getting life means we get to pay 1 and put a +1/+1 on all of our creatures. Alright, now we see where this deck is. It's an equipment deck. Now usually being murdered by ravens would be a problem for us because our pests are obviously all 1/1 to begin with. But Lizette and the Blex will help us grow our army so that attacking doesn't necessarily have to be a terrible thing. We are just going to have to be a little bit cautious because the thing about Revenge of Ravens is that damage does add up, and it also supports him. So as long as he's able to block, he can actually suddenly, you turn around and find, you know, he's on 35 life and you're under pressure. So there you go. Here we've sacked 1 pest for 2 because obviously with the +1/+1 on them, they grow a little bit bigger. Now this army is getting out of hand. It's going to have to do something quite dramatic and quite soon. Closing statement. That's as bold as you can get. Let's sacrifice a bunch of things while we can. Sacrificing underneath their card is always a good idea because it means that you at least 2-for-1 them. And when they're going after a pest, it's even better than that. And again, do the tend the pests trick. Never lose anything without gaining something back if we can. The idea is to always gain benefit. Trade off 1 card for 1 card, 1 pest for 2. I think when you're staring down 3 Grim Wanderers and that big Blex at this stage, no Revenge of Ravens is going to save you. Alright. so we can get the woe eater on the table, because why not? We've got the pests for it. Plus the Revenge of Ravens makes them uneconomical, really. Alright, we've got more thinking on that side. Ah, Velomachus Lawhold. Now we're just trying to limit his options. And there's the Tarask. See, I told you. Fun. That's the big finisher you want. Alright, that's a lot of land. But we can maybe Deadly Brew into the Grim Wanderer if we get things right. Our opponent so sneaky and keeping so many secrets they didn't want to play a land there. Alright. Your white-green automatically sort of hints at a life gain deck, so the Prosperous Innkeeper is not a surprise. And it's actually the life gain deck. We can expect to see some unicorns, some clerics. If we cast the Deadly Brew, it will generate a pest with a Sedgemoor Witch, which we can then in turn sacrifice to the Deadly Brew. So casting it isn't actually a bad idea, because we'll get one of their proper creatures in return for something that doesn't actually exist at the moment. Plus we get to return a permanent from the graveyard, which is what Deadly Brew allows us to do if we do sacrifice something to it. There's a lot of value to be had in that card. Fighting against that tide of life gain. That 10/10 Moondancer may be becoming a problem. Sure, that is a lot of triggers happening over on that side. 14/14 Moondancer. Yes, we're going to leap a pest in the way, obviously. Right, 10 the pests, the Woe Eater with the Sedgemoor Witch. That gives us 8 in total. Maybe another 3. This should help us fend off the Moondancer for a little while. We are going to have to do something dramatic to break this wall of white. Because that Moondancer and that Unicorn are getting large. You know, there really is only so long that you can hold them off. Well, as long as we keep drawing for pest summonings, that Unicorn and the Moondancer will pose no threat. The second that stops. So perhaps what we're looking for is a Tarask. I'm always looking for a Tarask. Who doesn't like to cast a Tarask? 24/24. Alright, let's see if we can go and find something useful. There he is. Now it's just about getting enough land there. So I'm pretty sure he's gonna carry on attacking us with the 2 big ones. Which means when we do dump the Tarask on the table, it will be a big surprise. be able to deal with some of those smaller creatures. Yep, here they come again. And once more, if we can gain value out of pests, why not? Sedgemore Witches there, just keeping us in pests for days. We've doubled our number of pests, drawn 13 cards. That's plumb the forbidden for you. Right, now we can actually put a Blex out if we want. That is suddenly, we've got a lot of power and toughness on the table. Now let's see if we can grow that power and toughness. Gonna have to think carefully now if he wants to attack us with the Moon Dancer and the Unicorn. It's just the sheer number of pests that we've got on the table will make it very difficult for him to defend. And yet still the life gain triggers are ticking over. Nine defenders there against our 28 pests. He's going to try and gain 10 life here, and does. It does feel like too much here, and it is.
So Lizette, Dean of the Root, proves to be the secret trick after all, the one who opponents need to get rid of immediately if they don't want to lose. Hopefully you enjoyed the deck, and if you did, please click like, subscribe, share, put it wherever you can on social media. I'd really appreciate it. Thank you very much for your time, and we'll see you next week.